Hello everyone, today we are trying to solve the Evil Sudoku killer series. Uh, this is going to be the puzzle number 2 of that series, and it will follow the basic Sudoku killer Sudoku rules. That is, we need to fill 1 to 9 from top to bottom across and in this cell of 9. And apart from that, we also need to follow the chain rule. So the chain of these two needs to be 11. This chain of 12 needs to be, these three numbers needs to be 12. So that total also needs to be followed. So now we will start with the smallest possible chains. That is, we have right here 1. So 6. And a chain of 2. So these are the two possible combinations. I'm noting it down. And then we have one here 8. 3 possible combinations. I'll not take anything above 8 on the smaller chains. So about after that the larger chains, that is 16, 14, 'Do we have any other chain of 2's? Okay, we can try this because 7 and 9 is not usable in this 12, so this is the only possible chain. 4 and 8. Okay, do we have anything else in the chain of 2's? Chain of 2's. We can try this. 11, 11. We cannot have 5 and 6 because this will be either 8 or 5 or 6 and 8. So 5 and 6 is not possible. So 2, 9, 3, 8, 4, 7. 3 different chains. Okay. So I think we are done with the chain of 2's. Next, let's look for chain of 3's. Anything less than 10. So we have one here. Less than 10. Chain of 3. So these are the possible numbers. So I'll copy these down. And here I cannot have a 4. And these three numbers is going to be the same thing: 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay. Anything else we can notice? Chain of 3's. Any other chain of 3 less than 10? No. Chain of 3 more than 21? Chain of 3 more than 21? No. Next we can go for chain of 4's. Chain of 4's, again, which are smaller than like 12 or 13. Chain of 4 smaller than 13. We don't have anything, but I see that there is one thing to be noted down here. In a Sudoku puzzle, the total needs to be a 45. We see that there is a 19 and a 9. 19 and 9 means 27. So if I select all this, the balance remaining is 17. So we need to have a 17 here. 17 means 8 plus 9. So we need to have an 8 and 9 here, which means we will have a 7 here. That means we will have a 7 here. And now if I have an 8 and 9, so if I enter an 8, this will be a 9. If I enter a 9, this will be an 8, which means I cannot use 8 plus 3, I cannot use 9 plus 2. So this is going to be a 7, so 7 cannot be here. So one of the two sevens, one of the 7 needs to be coming here. Okay. Now we can try this 10. No, actually, before that, since we have a 7 here, we cannot use 1 and 7. Has to be 6 and 2 or 3 and 5. Okay. Now sum of 10, size of 2, cannot use 4, cannot use 7. Similar thing. I'll copy everything and I'll enter here. Then I cannot have an 8 here, I cannot have a 9 here, I cannot have a 4 here, and I cannot have a 7 here. Which means 1 plus 9, 2 plus 8, 3 plus 7, 6 plus 4. These are the possible combinations. Okay, is there anything else which we can consider? We can take a look at this. 16, size of 3. So if we enter 8 or 9 here, this solves these two locations. So I will try to do that. So I will enter 8 here, which means I will no longer be able to use 9 and I will no longer be able to use 5. And I cannot use 4 and 7 already, which means these two cells should have a 2 or a 6. Then I will enter a 9 here, which means I cannot use 4 and 7, that is quite obvious. And then we cannot use 8 and 6 because 8 and 6 will appear here. So 2, 5, 9. So now if you notice, the 2 is permanent number here, which means I cannot use a 2 here, which means I cannot use an 8 here. I cannot use a 2 here, which means the 6 goes off. So 2 was our permanent number here. Now let's take a look at this. 18. We'll follow same thing. We are going to enter 8, which means I cannot have a 9 and I cannot have 2 at any cost, so I cannot have a 2. 9 plus 2, 11. 11 plus 5, 16. So I cannot use 5 also. So 9, 2, 5. Apart from that, is there anything else which we can narrow down? That's it. So I can use 3, 7. 7 I've already considered. This is the only possible location for 7. 4. I cannot use a 4 here. So, and 6. Now let me do a reset for this. And this time I'm going to enter a 9 here, which means I cannot have an 8. I cannot have a 2. Sorry, no, I cannot have a 2 because 2 is a permanent there. 8 plus 2, 10. 10 plus I cannot use 6, which means 4, 5, 9. So we already have 4. So only addition is 5. Now if you see here, 5 either needs to be used here or it needs to be used here, which means we cannot use a 5 here. So if I use a 5 here or here, which means I will not be able to have 5 and 3 here. That gives us 6 and 2. With 6 and 2 in hand, I cannot use 8 here any longer. And with that, let's take a look at this 12, size of 3. Let's do a reset. We will look for the ones which are in pair. So 1 and 2, anything which has 1 and 2, anything which has 1 and 4, anything which has 1 and 6, anything which has 1 and 7, nothing. Okay, then we will look for anything which is 2 and 4, anything which is 2 and 6, anything which is 2 and 7, then anything which is 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5 is possible. 1, 3, 8 is also possible. So I can enter, if I have to enter 3, 4, 5, to enter 3, 4, 5, I'll enter 4 here because 4 is not possible in these two boxes. So I'll enter 4 here. Then I'll enter a 5 here. No, I'll enter a 3 here and a 5 here. Okay, that looks good. And in case of 1, 3, 8, I will enter the 1 here. I will enter the 3 here and the 8 here. Okay, so this seems reasonable. So I'll copy these numbers here. From this, I need to exclude 1. I need to exclude 4. Same thing, 1 and 4. And those are the two numbers which we need to enter here because I cannot enter 1 here, I cannot enter 4 here from these both the two sequences. So I will only have either a 1 or a 4. I cannot have anything else here. Which means we cannot have a, with this 6, I cannot have my 8 here, which means I cannot have a 9 here. It gives me a 9 here. This gives me a 1, and that gives me a 9. So possible numbers 3, 5, 8. And if I go here, like 6 and 2 are here, I'll not be able to use 4. It needs to be 1 and 5, which means I cannot have a 5 here, which means these 3 numbers needs to be 5. Since I have a 3 and 8 here, it means 1, 3, 8 is not a possible series anymore. Which means this needs to go as a 4, and get as an 8 here, and get as a 4 here. 7, 4, 7, 4. This will be 3 and 5, which means this goes an 8. And I think I have made an error somewhere. Most likely when I marked the 6 and 2, that's where I made an error. Okay, so we marked this 3, 4, 6, and 5. So we marked the possible numbers here. Now what should have been this right here, 1. This is what we are going to have here. The reason is simple, we don't have a 1 space for 1 anywhere else. So which means this is going to be a 9, this is going to be an 8, this is going to be a 9, this is going to be a 2. There's going to be 8 and 6, which means I cannot use 6 here. 3, 5, which means 1 and 5 cannot be used here. Has to be 4 and 2. Which means the remaining numbers here are 1, 1, 2, 3 is not possible, 4 is not possible, 5 is not possible, 6, 7 is not possible, 8 and 9. Of this, 8 and 9 cannot be here. Okay. And we cannot have a 2 here. And similarly, we cannot have 1 here. So let's take a look at this. 12, anything which has 3 and 4 cannot be done. Sum of 12, 3 and 4, that is not a possible series. Anything which has 3 and 5, anything which has 3 and 5, nothing. Anything which has 3 and 7, 3 and 7, okay, anything which has both 1 and 2, because if you notice here, 1 and 2, these are the only two spots for 1 and 2. If I use a 1 here, I'll have to use a 2. If I use a 2 here, I'll have to use a 1 here. So we cannot have both 1 and 2. Anything which has 4 and 7, anything which has 4 and 5, so these are the possible left out combinations: 2, 4, 6, 1, 5, 6, 1, 3, 8, 3 combinations. Of these 3 combinations, if I need to enter a 1, it has to be here or here. If I want to enter a 3, no, actually, if I have to, let's try to enter one by one these 3 combinations. I will enter a 3 here. I'll clear these 2 nodes. I will enter a 3 here, which means I can enter 1 and 8. Of that, we know that 8 is not possible here. So this is how we will enter. So if 8 is not possible here, we will enter this 1, 8, 3. This is the first sequence. Then next 6, 1, 5, 6. So we cannot have 5 in this box. So we will have the 5 here. Then Can I enter 6 here? Yes. Can I enter 5 here? No. Can I enter 1 here? Yes. So 1 and 6. Similarly, 1 and 6. But I cannot have a 1 here. Oh, again, same thing. 183, 165. So I cannot have a 6 here as well because I cannot enter 1 here, cannot enter 6 here. Okay, next is 2, 4, 6. So we cannot have 4 inside. So 4 needs to be entered here. If 4 is to be entered here, we need to enter 2 and 6 here. So 2 and 6, 2 and 6. So now we know that 1 and 2 is going to be here. We can try with this 11. 11, size of 2 does not contain 8, 6, 1, 9. So, wow, this is good. 4 and 7, which means this 3 remaining will be 2, 3, 4, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what I want to consider here is, since we have a 9, do we need a 5 here? So 16, 9 plus 2, 11, 11 plus 5, 16. So which means I cannot have a 6 here. That means 2 and 5. So 5 needs to go here. So we will get a 5 here. We'll get a 3 here. Oh, sorry. We'll get a 3 here. And we'll get a 5 here. Okay. Now, with this information, let's see what else we can do. We can look for 18, 18, which contains 8, which does not contain 2, 5, 9. So, this can be 3, 7, 8. So, let me just clear these notes out. So, the first possible is 3, 7, 8. That's one possibility. Next possibility is 4, 6, 8. Okay. Now, what are the remaining 3 numbers here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now this we cannot have a 7 here. So, and I cannot have a 7 here. I cannot have a 4 here. Now with this information, let's try this. 12. This seems like a weak chain to me. So on this, I cannot have the 3. I cannot have the 3. I cannot have 2, and I cannot have 5. And I cannot have the 4 and 8. So this is going to be, I cannot have 9 and 7 as well. So this is going to be 9 and 7 or 5 and 3. Next, let's look for this 20. 20, size of 4, which does not have 2 and 4. And 7 and 9, we can have only one of these. So 1, 5, 6, 8. 1, 5, 6, 8. Which means the remaining here would be 3, 9, 7. So let's look for this 15. This 15, size of 3, which has a 3. So 3 is compulsory. Which has a 3. So 3, 4, 8. We cannot have 8 here. And we cannot have a 4 here. That means this is wrong. And 3, 5, 7. We cannot have a 5 here, which means we can enter 5 here. And this has to be 3 and 7. That means this is our 9, which gives me a 3 here, which means the combination of 18, we just lost one more combination. In the combination of 18, I need to include an 8, but I cannot have a 9, I cannot have a 2, I cannot have a 5. Okay, this is the combination of 18 with the size of 3. I need to have 8, cannot have 2, cannot have 5, cannot have 9. And I cannot have 1 also, because 1 and 2 is going to be here. Now, let's try to solve this once again. I cannot enter a 3 here, so I can enter a 7, and I can enter a 3, 4, 6, 8. I cannot enter a 4, which means I can enter a 6, and I can enter a 4. Now, one to be noted is this is the only spot for 6. We don't have a 6 at any other spot, and we cannot have 6 here as well because of this. We cannot have 6 at these two spots, so 6 is the only spot for here. So with this 6, 6 plus 8, 14, 14 plus 4. With this 4, we have this 7. 7 plus 7, we have a 4. Since 1 or 2 are going to be there, which means this is going to be 3. Since 2 and 5 is going to be here, cannot use a 2 here. Now we can look for this 15 size of 3, which must include a 3. So I can not have a 2. If I have to have a 3, I cannot have a 2. Simple. So this needs to be a 5. And this needs to be a 7. This will be a 2. This is a 9. 7. Which means these two spots are going to be 7. And this is the only spot available for 7. This is the only spot available for 9. Because 9 is not in there in this combination, so this is the only available spot for 9. With that, these two spots will have a 9. So 26, 26 with the size of 4, which has 4, 7 and 9. Which means this needs to be 2, 8, 4, 6. Of this, 2 and 4 is not possible. So if 2 and 4 is not possible, I'll have to enter a 2 and 4 here. Okay. Yep. Perfect. Okay, my mistake. Even though 7, it not necessarily must have a 7. 7, that we can have a 7 here as well. So let's delete this at the moment. Now let's take a look at this 12. 12, the size of 3. So first one was 138, 138, and 264. Okay. So we have a 9. How did I miss this out? Which means this will become a 2, 2, 6, 4, 8, 4, 7, 3, 7, 3, sorry, 7, 7, 7, 7, and this is a 4, this is an 8. So we can take a look at this series. 18, size of 4, which contains 7 and 8, which means this needs to be 1 and 2. I cannot have a 1 here, so 2, 1. So the remaining 4 numbers are 3, 6, 8, 9. These are the 3 numbers of this. I cannot have a 3, I cannot have an 8, I cannot have a 9, so this becomes a 6. Here I cannot 1, 2, I can have a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I cannot have a 9. I cannot have a 9. So this needs to be 3 or 8. This area, it needs to be 8 or 9, so this becomes 3. If I'm going to have an 8 or 9, I cannot have an 8 here. So this needs to be 1 and 5. Okay. That means look for 22. Look for 22, which has a 7 but does not contain 3, 4, 6, 8. This means this will be notes 1, 5, 9, and of this I cannot have 5 and 9, so this will become 1. Now take a look at this 9 and think 9, size of 3. 9 size of 3. So I can enter 1, 6 and 2. That's a possible combination. 1, 6 and 2. Okay. I can enter 1, 3 and 5. That's also a possible combination. And but I cannot enter 2, 3, 4. So 1, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Of 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay. Here also I'll have same numbers 6, 3 and 5. Which means we need to have a 4 here. So let's look for 19. Size of 4, which has 7 and which has 4. Two, 6, 3, 5. 2, 6, 3, 5. I cannot have 3. Here. Okay, so this is the remaining possible numbers here. That is 1, 2, 3 is there, 4, 5, 6, 7 has to be here, 8, and that's it. Of this, I don't know anything anywhere. Of this, if I use 1, I'll have to use an 8 here. If I have to use 2, then this will be a 7. If I have to use a 6, 3, if I have to use an 8, I have to 1, so 8 is not possible here. And since I have a 3, 6 and 3 is also not possible. Now if we notice in this series, This is the only spot left for a 5. Can I have a 5 here? No. Can I have a 5 here? No. So this is the only spot left for 5. That gives us a 2 here. Nine, nine. So we have 4 boxes and we can have a 9. 8. We don't have any restrictions for 8 yet. 7. These are the 2 boxes for 7. 6. We don't have any restrictions for 6 yet. 5. 5 means 5. 4. 4. 3. 3. 2. 2. 1. Now let's take a look for this. This I think will solve this. Will solve a lot of issues. 16, which must have a 2. And cannot have a 7. And cannot have a 9. And cannot have a 8. So 2, 3, 5, 6. So I cannot have a 1. And if 5 and 6 is going to be here, this needs to be a 3. 3 plus 1, 4, 4 plus 5, 9. Now let's look for this 20. 20, which does not have 5, 6, 7, which means 1, 2, 8, 9. Remaining numbers are 3, 4. I have a 4 here, which means this needs to be a 3. Sorry, this needs to be a 4, 3, cannot have 1 and 2 here. So now let's look for this 9 size of 2. Cannot have 1, 2, 4. So this needs to be 3 and 6. So this becomes a 6 and this becomes a 3. Okay. Now with that, this becomes a 5. This is a 6. This is an 8. And this is a 6. We're going to have a 2 and 6 here, so I cannot have a 2. I cannot have a 2. I already have a 9 here, so which means this needs to be 8. So this needs to be a 7. And this 7, this becomes a 2. And this 2, this is a 6. This is a 2. 9, 8, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Means this is an 8 and this is a 6. This is a 2. This is a 4. 16, size 3, includes 3, cannot have a 6, cannot have a 7. And this I cannot have 3, I cannot have 8, cannot have the 4, has to be 5 or 9. Similarly, I cannot have the 3, I cannot have the 5, I cannot have the 9, which means it has to be 4 or 8. In this line, this is the only spot for 4. only spot for 4, this becomes an 8. With this 8 I get a 1, 1 with 1 I get an 8, and here I get a 5. With 5 I get a 1, 5, 1, 9, 5, 2, 1, 2, 9. So this is our killer Evil Sudoku series 2, and we entered this within 60 minutes. We will solve the puzzle number 3 in our next video. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you for watching.